This is a video showing how to make a histogram on the calculator for the lab assignment on page 29 in Module 2A. The directions do ask you to use Excel, so you should also try to make the same histogram on Excel. You don't need to make a printout like I said in the directions. I'm okay as long as you can recreate the histogram on your calculator or on Excel. So here's the histogram we're going to recreate. The data up here is the list of the grams of fat from Burger King's menu. The data is just stacked in a list here, so these empty boxes don't mean anything. Sometimes students have asked me about that. So when we look at the histogram, we want to first see what's the bin size. So we see our bins are counting by tens, so we want to make sure our bins will go by tens. And then we also want to see what's the minimum. 60 is the maximum, 0 is the minimum. So we're going to set 0 for our minimum and 60 for our maximum in our calculator. All right, so let's go into the calculator. So remember, we first want to go to Stat and press Enter to edit. And I've got some data in List 1, so I'm going to go highlight List 1, press Clear, and Enter to clear out my list. Remember, if you're not seeing List 1, List 2, and List 3 here, go into Stat, choose Choice 5, the Setup Editor, and press Enter twice. And then when you go to Stat Edit, you should have List 1, List 2, and List 3 showing up. So we're going to type in our data from page 29 from that table. And the order doesn't matter, so I'm just going to type it the order that it shows up. And we know our minimum is going to be 0 and our maximum is going to be 60, or we could set it to 70 to go a little bit higher than 60. I always go real slow when I'm entering data into my calculator list. One of the most common questions in the math lab from students is why their histogram doesn't look like it's supposed to, and it's usually because something's wrong with the data on the calculator. So always, if you have a mistake and you're not getting the graph you expect to see, go back and check your list to make sure you didn't skip something or miss anything. Okay, I think I got all the lists of the grams of fat. Now I'm going to go to the window key, and we want our x-min to be 0. And let's set our x-max to be 70. You could try 60 also. The x scale is the bin size, so we want to set our bin size to 10. Since this is a histogram, we don't have to worry about the y values. Later on, when we study scatter plots, we'll set our y values also. And now we want to go to second stat plot. So make sure you have plot 1 on. When you go into plot 1, make sure the histogram is highlighted and that the X list is under L1. And then you want to go to graph. And we get a histogram that looks pretty close to what we see in the packet on page 29. The issue seems to be that 0 is included separately as its own data, whereas in the activity packet, whereas in our histogram graph, 0 is included in this first bar here. That's just a difference between how the TI graphs histograms and how Excel graphs histograms. It's not an issue as long as we know that they're going to be different. We see all of our other bars look like we expect them. These two bars are even, I think, because I'm guessing that the value right on the cusp of 30 and 40 is getting pushed down to 1 bar lower, is what looks like is happening. So I think the endpoints are a little bit different in the TI-84. We could go, if we want to try to make it look exactly like our other graph, we could try setting the X scale to 9. So the bin size is 9, and see how it looks a little bit better match to the plot we see from Excel on page 29. Notice over here at the end, 0 is still not included, or it is included in this bar. It's not its own bar like in the activity packet. But setting the bin size to 9 pushes this value right on the cusp of 30 up to the 40 bin. And then it stretches this out a little bit more.